Okay, so it's January 11th. It is January Meetup, Multidimensional Healing. It's the first month of the year. And at the Mixed Space, we like to take this month to hold space for letting go and purpose and resetting and healing and mental health. And so that is why we've chosen to, that's how we got to this theme here today. And the purpose of our meetup here is to invite all of you into your bodies, to invite you into a space of healing, to invite you to connect with the community and to have an opportunity to reset and to start the year off in a way that feels wholesome to you and nourishing to you. And in the hope that you can carry this through onto next month, where you can continue to discover and learn and cultivate your leadership, and onto next month and onto next month. And before you know it, it'll be a year of mixed space meetups with us together, and you'll have made new friends and new family members. Here at the Mixed Space, our goal is to cultivate a balance between personal leadership, activism, education, learning, battling ignorance, fostering community, and being able to participate in robust discussion. Because we believe that people who are bridge builders, who are connectors, people who are light in the world, need a space to recharge, and they need a space to continue to be challenged and to change our minds and change our perspective. And that's what we're coming together here to do. I personally am really excited about this theme today because I need physical practice in order to get through my life. Essentially, it's what I'm learning. The older I get, the more I rely on movement and physical practice to stay sane and to clear energy and to reset myself and keep myself aligned. And I think that if I hadn't been able to be in my body, I would feel even more anxious than I sometimes already do. And I would feel even more disconnected from my purpose. So I'm very, very grateful to be in community with you, because sometimes doing this work, especially alone, is not easy and it can feel lonely. And so looking at all of your beautiful faces and feeling all this love, it just makes me really excited and happy to get into it. So before we move on and we start to introduce our amazing speaker for today, I just want to hold a moment of silence for us to honor ourselves, honor our bodies as they come in all the spectrums, in all shapes, in all sizes, all abilities. And I want to acknowledge childhood trauma and in general trauma that is in our bodies that affects our nervous systems. I want to hold a moment of silence for folks who are martyrs, who are killed for what they believe in, and just offer a moment of self-compassion to you to love your body as you come to this workshop today. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Ariel, I'm handing it to you for our meetup agenda.
Woo, meetup agenda. So everyone knows what's going on here. Okay, so this is our meetup agenda. We are going to do a Q&A later, as you can see. So if during the meditation or during any of our sort of talks right now, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat and we will revisit them at the end. Something new that we are going to do to practice moving in and move out, which is something that we're going to talk about in just a second, is we actually are going to have a timekeeper. So when we do sharing during the community guidelines, we are going to just sort of set a timer. And if you hear that, it's not just immediately stop talking, but just sort of like close your thought and then move out of the space so someone else can move into it and sort of share what's on their mind. So that's to come. We're dropping the booklet into the chat. So you guys can also have access to the agenda. And as I said, move in, move out. Where does that language come from? Our discussion guidelines. Woo! Snaps to that. Lily, take it away with the first one.
Okay, so our first community guideline is that engagement is encouraged, as Ariel is already leading wonderfully. All of your enthusiasm and your energy, your engagement is encouraged. You can raise your hand, you can ask a question. Obviously, the chat is the secret party here at the meetup, so drop all your wisdom and your knowledge and your questions in the chat.
Thank you. Number 2 is oops, ouch. So say ouch if someone says something that hurts you, and say oops and genuinely apologize for the ways your intention did not match your impact.
Awesome. Number 3, in lieu of saying I'm sorry, in the habit of over apologizing, especially amongst women and femmes, we offer an I'm sexy, or I'm sassy, or I'm strong, or I'm sacred. So Ariel and I definitely practice this in every single meetup. You'll hear us yell out, I'm sexy or I'm sassy. If you want to interrupt or you need to interrupt and you don't want to say sorry, you can use strong, sacred, any of those instead of I'm sorry.
Thank you. Number 4 is move in, move out. So if you know that you're someone that likes to talk and take up space, just be mindful of that. So other shyer people might be able and feel called to comment or share what's on their minds as well. So just be cautious of protecting everyone and looking out for everyone in the space today.
Awesome. Identifiers, name yours and respect others. It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm. Number 6 is mean what you say. So we can't control other members' responses, but we can make sure we're putting thought into our words and being held accountable if need be.
Confidentiality means share your learning and not someone else's private information, and ask permission before giving out people's names or any other personal information outside of the group, especially after breakout rooms.
Mm-hmm. And number 8 is disagree with the idea, not the person. So this is a space for constructive dialogue. So just avoid making personal attacks and focus on using I statements when you speak.
Number 10, if you like it and if you agree with these community guidelines, please show us by raising your thumbs up, or you can use your reaction, your thumb up reaction, just to let us know that you're down and that this resonates with you. And if you have any other ideas for our community agreements, please put them in the chat or reach out to us any other way. Awesome.
I see some people already sharing in the chat, thumbs up and reacting, which is fabulous. Y'all are ready? Y'all know what you're doing. Okay, 2022, here we go. I would love now to take a moment to introduce our amazing speaker. Our speaker this month is a multidimensional artist and wellness coach, and we mean this in so many ways. Not only are they multidimensional in their approach to coaching, self-care, mindfulness, and yoga, but they are also multifaceted in their artistry through creating podcasts, music, dance, and so much more. Like many of our mixed space community members, they have worked on finding ways to heal intergenerational trauma, and their journey to finding yoga came from a desire to heal. Their holistic approach really mirrors the original purpose of yoga, which is a philosophy and a lifestyle that allows us to connect with our higher selves, with our most authentic selves. And we are grateful to have them here with us today as our guide for us to really connect with our own energies and with each other. I personally also have Owl on Insight Timer, which you can follow them on Insight Timer, and I have that, which is so exciting. And so I'm so excited to introduce Owl here with us. Everyone give a warm welcome, spirit fingers, whatever works for us for you. Owl, woo!
Hey, what's up? How's it going? Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Awesome. Well, my name's Owl. I identify with the pronouns they, them. And yeah, you did a great job. I'm like, what else can I add to that introduction, man? You really hit everything. I am really excited for today's meetup. I'm going to lead us through a meditation and then a little bit of movement. On the movement, I'm going to try to make it so that if you're like not in a space to like do yoga, you can just kind of engage with it still. So yeah, should I just get started with the meditation or?
Totally.
All right, cool. So yeah, just starting to connect to the body here. And I wanted to throw in there too that I have a YouTube channel and a project that we're working on is called Imani Yoga Experience. It's IMANI I'll drop a link in the chat later, but yeah, that's also another way to, connect with my meditations and the yoga journey. And we'll talk more about that later. So starting to connect to your seat, connecting to your space, letting any sighs, any yawns out through the mouth. Feel free to unmute your mic here if you'd like to and connect your breath with everyone in the space. Or if you're feeling like just staying where you are in your space, how you are, then that's totally okay. And from here, we're just starting to take notice of the body. Take notice of beingness. So what is it like to be? What is it like to breathe, to exist in this space? Letting go of any tension in the jaw. The eyes are closed here, maybe softening the closure of the eyes. If the eyes are open, maybe taking a moment to gaze around your space, finding things to hone in on that bring you joy. And so there's options for everyone here. Meditation isn't for you, then maybe you're just in your space, finding something that brings you joy. Again, if the eyes are closed, we're just taking a moment to bring the shoulders up to the ears. Take a deep breath in. And the exhale, just rolling the shoulders down around the back, allowing the heart to extend forward. And again, just taking notice of the breath. Take a deep breath in, allowing the belly, the lungs, and the chest to fill up with air. And as you exhale, allowing these spaces to deflate. And so while you're here, connecting to your breath, start to take notice of what's going on in your immediate environment. Take notice maybe of who you are, who you identify as, and taking pride in all of who you are. Take a moment to acknowledge here the land that you're on. For me, I'm on Kumeyaay land, or Kumeyaay territory in San Diego, California. Really take a moment here to really connect with and be thankful for, the people who stewarded this land. Maybe just sending out some gratitude and some love for showing up for yourself today. Because when we create more peace within ourselves, we can create more peace in the world. No one else can show up for us but ourselves. You can't really find a friend to come and sit in meditation for you and for you to gain the benefit. So taking the time again here to show gratitude for the space, for the lineage, from the truth that you come from. Take notice and take time to show respect for all things that allow you to sit in this space. Gratitude. And if the hands came to the heart and to the belly, you can bring the hands back to the heart center. If the eyes are closed, maybe you slowly start to open the eyes, bringing the gaze over to the left, to the right, finding one thing in your space that sparks joy for you. Maybe it's your favorite plant. Maybe it's your favorite pair of shoes, whatever it is. And then allow your eyes to close again and allow that joy to radiate through your heart, And as we open our arms, as we open our hands wide, we send this joy and we send this love to the world. And as we bring our palms down to the earth, we send this love back to where it all starts. Maybe when you open the eyes again, you feel a bit more grounded. And so take a few moments here to just breathe, just be. We'll move into a little bit of movement. And so wherever you are in your space, the hands are down to the earth. Take a deep breath in. We reach the arms up to the sky. And on the exhale, we're twisting just our upper body to the left. So the left hand can come behind the spine. And since I'm sitting so close to the wall, you might be in a similar space. Really, you can just find wherever it's easy for you to come into a nice twist. And take notice of the shoulders here. Do you hold a lot of tension? Do you hold the weight of the world in your shoulders? Collectively, we'll take a deep breath in, bringing the shoulders up to the ears. On the exhale, just letting those shoulders float away from the ears. Maybe you gaze a little bit deeper over the left shoulder. Stay connected with the breath. And again, take notice of this grounded sensation or this grounded feeling that might be coming over you in this shape, in this posture, or even just from listening to, this practice. Take notice of the sounds around you. See if you can pinpoint which sound is the furthest away. And so we do this practice here to really allow ourselves to disconnect from many of our worldly desires. We really just connect with the idea of play, the idea of trying something new. And in the practice of Yin Yoga, which we're practicing today, we really take our time in each posture to really notice what's going on in the body. We allow the blood to flow through the veins. We allow the tension to flow out of the body through the extremities. Maybe you flex your toes here. Maybe you tense your fingers a bit and then release. And just notice any of the tension slowly melting away as the shoulders melt away from the ears. Relaxing the tongue and the roof of the mouth. If the eyes are open, maybe you just soften your gaze a bit here. Come out of this pose, we'll just slowly shift our gaze just a little bit to the right. Inhale as the arms raise up to center, we gaze between the hands. On the exhale, we're twisting over to the opposite side. Taking notice of the shift here. Any changes that are happening within the body, within the mind. Maybe the spirit feels a little bit more space to be free here. It's very interesting how when we still our body, our soul finds space to be free. Our mind finds space to be free. I think a lot of that has to do with the idea that we've shifted from being human beings and we've become human doings. And, we've become these machines that must create and create and create. And so now we take the time to just be. In our state of being, we can find that, oh, this does feel good. I can allow myself to be still. I can allow myself to let go of tension or the person that cut me off this morning, or the coffee that spilled out of my cup and got onto my white dress. I can allow that to go. Because in the stillness, I understand that all things are okay. In the stillness, we understand that this is how we connect to our highest self. Through deep breath, and concentration and focus on being in the present. And so when you're ready, allowing the eyes to softly open here if they were closed, slightly bringing your gaze over to the left. And we'll take a deep breath in, the arms raised up to the sky. And on the exhale, maybe finding a space to forward fold. Now for me, I'm going to have to move this little laptop over a bit. Again, just finding what you can do in your space as you forward fold. Allowing the forehead to float towards the floor. Even if you're sitting in your chair, you can just bring your chin to your chest, releasing the neck. Maybe you're walking the fingertips forward and back, allowing this rhythm to release your hips. Again, finding what works for your body here, and eventually finding stillness. But to take notice of any spaces where you're holding on to tension, maybe in the lower back, and starting to send your breath to that space. Send your energy to the spaces in your body that need healing. Take a deep breath in, collectively looking towards the fingertips. On the exhale, we'll walk our hands over to the left side. You can cross your right hand over the left here if you'd like to. Or maybe you're just coming over to the left. Either way, just allow your forehead to come down. Allow anything that no longer serves you to go here, whether that's any shame that you might have felt today, or any guilt that you might have felt today, or anything that you just doesn't belong to you. Can you give it back? Can you allow the earth to transmute this pain? Can you turn really a weed into a flower? Or can you turn poison into fruit? And that's what we do here. We connect to our breath. We can turn the poison within our body into the fruit that sustains us, that allows us to shine our brightest and really step into a place of power. And in that power, we understand the illusion of power. We understand that the power really belongs to the collective. Listening to our collective needs, hearing each other out, open heart, and sharing space for all people to share what's coming to mind and what's coming to heart. So there's space for all of us to feel, for all of us to feel seen, for all of us to feel nurtured. Deep breath in as you gaze towards the hands. On the exhale, we're walking your hands all the way across the world to the right side. The left hand can come over the right here. Just allowing the forehead to go. Is there any more space to really let go? Is there any more space to allow yourself to ground into the floor? Where are you holding tension in the body? Can you send your breath to that tension, and on the exhale, feeling that tension float out of the extremity? Can you allow the earth here to transmute any of your suffering so that you can experience more joy? Deep breath in as we gaze towards the hands. On the exhale, the hands come back through the center. One last time, just allowing the forehead to float down here. And then feeling each movement as you walk the hands back towards the body, backing up the vertebrae of the spine. You can change the cross of your legs here if you'd like to. And then from here, we'll bring our hands to our shoulders, allowing the elbows to extend out. Take a deep breath in. On the exhale, we'll just twist our body over to the left. For our own degree, you don't have to come all the way to the left side, but if there's more space in your practice, then you definitely can, and feel free to do so. You can also listen to your space. Again, I have this beautiful wall behind me, so this is where I'm coming to. And just breathe into your power here. Really breathing into the solar plexus, the heart chakra. See if you can allow your heart to expand and open here as you allow your shoulders to stretch and release. Deep breath in. And the exhale, just slowly transitioning through the center. You can release your hands down or keep them up here. Deep breath in. And the exhale, we're twisting over to the right. And if you don't do this a lot, this might be pretty intense for the shoulders. You can always take a moment to release and pause. You can also always come in a little bit deeper if that's what your body's asking for. And so in this practice, again, we get to learn to listen to our body. A lot of times our bodies are asking for rest and nourishment. Deep breath in. And the exhale, coming back through to center. Release the hands from the shoulders. We'll take a few moments to release the shoulders down and around the back. Some shoulder rolls to the back. And we'll bring those shoulder rolls forward. You can come up to a stand if you'd like to and shake it out. You can do a little shake from your seat if you'd like to, just to release any of that tension. Whatever works for you right now, just kind of allow yourself to release any tension in the shoulders. And then find yourself back in the seat when you're ready. Hands coming to heart center. And I want to thank you all for taking this time to practice with me. I know for many of you, this was like a blind practice. You haven't practiced with me many before, so I thank you for taking the time to instill your trust upon me and practice and hang out. And I'm excited to dive deep into a bit more conversation. So take some time here, take a couple minutes. You can grab some water. You can lay on your back in Shavasana. Just take a couple of minutes to recenter yourself and get back into the space. And I'll allow Lily to tell us when a couple of minutes has passed. Thank you all so much again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Al.
Thank
When
you.
we create more peace for ourselves, we create more peace in the world. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Someone who's working from home, it feels so good. Thank you. I feel refreshed. Oh, I love this. You said something else when you allow the body, when you sit in the body, you create space in the soul. That is, I'll just put that in the chat. That really, I just felt that, I felt that in my body at the time when you were saying that. I felt like I was learning that too. Sit in the body, you create space in the soul.
Yeah, what's interesting is that a lot of these things that I say, it's not like it's something embodiment happens, and I can't really explain it. It's not, I can't say it's not me, but it's not me in a way. Like it's coming from a different source, sort of like radical embodiment or something.
I've had that experience in the past when I've practiced, that while I'm in practice, I suddenly learn something, or I suddenly understand something, or something inside of myself reveals itself. And then I really want to remember it, or I want to be able to journal about it, or that then when the moment is over, like you said, it's kind of not even mine anymore. It's like it happened, it moved through me, I took what I needed, and then I don't, as soon as you try to hold on to it though, or like you start grabbing, then it kind of goes away in a sense. So it's a really interesting moment of like sitting with what is, and then also not trying to do anything with it, like not doing, and just allowing yourself to be.
On that too, I think it's, oh, sexy. Sorry. Oh, did you want to respond to what Lily just said?
No, sexy me, you go.
I mean, just in that being like, whatever Lily, you were just saying, I noted how difficult it was for me to even twist, because for me, I want to do a very intense workout, or I don't want to do anything at all. My chaotic brain is like, I'm going to work really hard. I want to feel like I'm in pain. Like I don't want to sit still. But it's so funny how, and not funny perhaps, but intriguing how my body just reacts so well to being still and like really tuning into itself, because my mind doesn't love it, but my body is like, oh, stretching calm, warm back, shoulders. Let's remember that we're not, holding our breath all the time. But even doing that, the stretching in my chair, the twists in my chair was workout for me, perhaps not physically, but mentally, because I didn't want to be so still and be in this twist. But it was just so interesting because I feel like, you know, you need the things that you don't want to do even more, perhaps. I don't know. An acupuncturist said that to me once, and I was like, "Oh, really?" But yeah, they were right.
Yeah, I think it's a balance.
Please go. Sorry.
I think it's a balance of, like, you know, having in life the things that we love to do, and then doing the things, not that we don't love them, but it's that they challenge us to the point that we fear them. I think that's what it is. Because I feel like we love everything inherently, but then we learn to feel different emotions towards things based off of our surroundings, a lot of us, or sometimes it's based off of, you know, what we're going through in our own selves, at least in my belief. So yeah, survival, yeah, that's definitely one too. Survival is big.
Yeah. What were you going to say about survival?
Esther put survival in there, and I was like, yeah, that is definitely a big thing, because our root chakra is connected to survival, and that's where we can transmute our fear, is when we connect with our root, when we like put our hands down and we grounded ourselves there. I don't know if any of you felt that, but that was us connecting to our root chakra, that was connecting to our grounding. And so in that space, you can transmute a lot of your fears, and a lot of the things that might maybe holding you back, you know, so you can move forward into like the other dimensions, so that it's easier for you to get into those twists, and it's easier for you to open your heart and to really shine your brightest light.
Yeah, like that's where the multiple dimensions come in. It's like there's the dimension of the body, my body sitting on the surface and the position, and then there's the dimension that I just feel like everything is opening up, and like you said, like I almost lose my body, like in the focus of the breath, and then I suddenly can move more, even though I wasn't pushing or I wasn't trying. And then when you encouraged us to let things go, I was like, oh yeah, there is shame here, there is guilt here, there is like inner conflict here that I'm holding, and when I let that go, suddenly it reveals like a much more calm version of myself, a much more clear version of myself. And that isn't a physical thing necessarily. Is for me, it was more of like, oh, I can actually see myself differently. I can see myself moving through my relationships differently. I see myself leading people differently. So there's all these layers to it that just come together and conflate in one breath, in one moment of presence.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why I believe that yoga is so important when we do efforts, or any really mindfulness practice is important when we are doing the work of decolonizing, because it allows us to get into a space where we can see through the lens of another being's eyes. I feel like it really gets us into that space where we can be more compassionate and be more receptive to you know, just new information, and, you know, things like that. I feel like it kind of breaks down those walls that we put up a bit, especially when it's a slower practice, because in the faster paced practices, a lot of times I've noticed that they're important too, but they kind of are more so for the external experience. And when we're decolonizing, yes, like, there's a lot that we can do on the outside, but a lot of that I feel like starts within ourselves, within our own beings and our soul. That's what we have to kind of shift first.
Okay, so that's actually a great transition to a question that I have. If you can tell me or tell us more about, how does connecting with your body and your breath link to an inner journey? Like, how does that inner journey with your body and your breath then also, especially then, connect to the outside world?
So when we connect with our breath, We are slowing down. We are really connecting back to our space of control. So not so much in like control and like we are going to control the environment, but controlling within like ourselves, so we can control more of our reaction to things. We can create more space to just like move through the ups and downs of life. We have like a boat almost to go through the river of life. Instead of always drowning, we are supported when we stay with our breath. I feel like that's the best analogy I could use for that.
The river of life. That is a quote. Woo.
If you haven't already guessed, people, when you hear something you really like, drop it in the chat. That's what Lily and I have been doing. So anything that resonates, just totally drop it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
I love that too, because like even building a boat, you're talking about we have support, but it's like building a boat isn't easy. It's actually very complicated, and it's almost a technology to build something that floats. And so it's really interesting, the simplicity of the exercises and then the profoundness that comes out of doing the work. And I'm interested in that connection. Is there any questions? Just inviting people to add their questions in the chat or to raise your hand if you want to ask Owl a question directly, or if you want to share about what your experience has been, and if you want to say anything, this is the time.
I see someone has raised their hand.
Awesome. I'll let you go with it, Ariel.
Peter?
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Blessings to all. Thank you, Brother Al. I have a question for you. So as you know, like yoga, samadhi, meditation, it's not just something that's flipped with a switch on and off. It's something that's continually experienced. And then we dedicate ourselves, as you do in this generous gift you share today, in a concentrated way. So the consideration is this, that part of the mindfulness is our discipline outside of the actual practice of meditation and yoga and additionally. And so I'm interested if you can speak to like the discipline or the things you do outside of the actual practice that help you when you do the practice, or perhaps the things that you don't do, that you abstain from doing, that help you to optimize the healing and the well-being that you experience when you're actually doing the practice and sharing it with others.
This is a great question. So I've learned over the years, because there's so many different things that I grew up with. I grew up as a Black male, like I was conditioned to be male. I grew up as that. And then I eventually like transitioned to identifying as non-binary. But from there, I was also conditioned to see white as right, or whiteness as right. I grew up going to predominantly white school. My stepdad was white. My mom was kind of like, I think she was also going through like a phase of finding herself, and maybe she was in love with this person or not. That didn't really matter. What mattered was that I was conditioned to sort of want to move in a white space, or move in spaces and sort of like always like speak with proper ebonics, or speak with proper tone, showing up, always making sure I had like certain shirts that I would wear, ways that I would move through spaces. And so a lot of my work personally has been to really step into and really love my Indigenous self, really love my Black authentic self, really love my queer self. And so in that, the things that I do to stay on my path really are, just continuing to meet up with people, continuing to have conversations about who I am, about who other people are, listening to other trans people about what their experience is, So that when I step on my mat personally, or when I step into, because this is how I get to I think that we all have our own form of samadhi, or what you're speaking of, getting to that heaven. For me, it's connecting back to my roots. It's connecting with my queerness. And so I feel like it's different for all of us, but really it's honing in on what things do you value and how can you prioritize those values every day? And then what things do you do during the day that keep you away from the things that you value? So for me, it was smoking weed all the time. I used to smoke cigarettes years and years ago. I used to have a sex addiction, which I'm still working on a bit now. But, there's different things that we work through and that we see and we notice. I feel like when we're in this practice, we just start to notice like, hey, this is becoming an issue, or this is something that I feel like that awareness is really what we're looking for, because a lot of people don't have that awareness, and that's when they get in trouble and like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I didn't know I hurt you. But when you're aware that you're hurting people and you're hurting yourself, I feel like that's when you can make the decision consciously to move in a space where you can elevate yourself or not. So did that answer your question?
That was beautiful. I actually have a follow-up, but I don't want to monopolize the time at the front of this thing. So
yeah, if you want to swing it back.
I'll pause.
Thank you. And Peter, drop it in the chat too, because if we have time, we'll hit it.
Cheers.
Hey, Diana, I hope I'm saying your name right.
Awesome. Hey.
Hi. Yeah. You can pronounce it as Diana, like in English, or Diana. It doesn't matter for me. I like both. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here at this mixed space meetup. It's actually my first one, and like so impressed and just like very happy with like everything, and just the energy here is great. Also, I'm happy to meet you as well, Owl, because like I'm actually also in San Diego, California. So we're like near each other, possibly, which is really cool. But yeah, I guess for me, I don't think it's like a question per se, but just like comments on overall like the content we've been like discussing about. Like I completely like love everything that you've presented to us, Owl. And like I think like I don't know, I honestly felt very emotional as you were like speaking and like guiding us with like the meditations and like being more present with our bodies and the deep breathing, because I just really, where my mind kind of went to was like thinking about how all of these practices, it's practices that at least I can speak for myself. Like I think intergenerationally, my family members, like my parents and their parents and et cetera, like they didn't have access to these kinds of practices, or they didn't learn about these things like growing up. And so I don't know, it's just, I guess I just get so emotional because it's like, I just think about like intergenerational trauma, right? And how that affects all of us in so many different ways. And it's, I don't know, I just find it so powerful that we can all come together in this virtual space, even if we're facing like very challenging circumstances right now, like including like just so much going on in the world, right, that we all are aware of, but that we can just all be with each other and just be like radical in the sense of like be radical in prioritizing our peace, our joy, our like self-care, community care. Because again, I feel like these different kinds of things, I think like, again, like for myself, it's a lot of the different practices that my family members just never like had access to. And it's just like unfortunate because I just think about like as well, and maybe I should have provided a trigger warning, family trauma, generational trauma, but it's just, I just think about like a lot of the issues and conflict that have happened within my family. And I just wonder like if they had access and an understanding of how to practice mindfulness, meditation, yoga, and even understanding how like when you create peace for yourself, you're able to create peace for the world. Like I just feel like my family would be so different, and my experiences growing up with my family would be so different. But I also like know that like I have like a lifetime, like the rest of my life, you know, and I'm here and I'm learning, and every day I'm trying to break cycles of intergenerational trauma and violence. And so I'm just here to continue learning and growing. And I feel really honored to be sharing space with all of you right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I wanted to touch on I guess what you said about, you know, how your family would be different. And yeah, you know, a lot of our families would be a lot different if we had the access that we have to just like even YouTube now, and like just being able to search like meditation or yoga, like all of that is new, you know, and it's a huge gift. And my family has history of crack abuse. Like we come from New York City, so everything that you can think of that a Black family goes through in New York City, that's basically what I've been through. And we just kind of moved to Long Island and tried to patch it up, but it was still there. It was still prevalent. And I found out years later that my parents had these addictions and that these issues were prevalent. And this is why like I lived the way that I lived. And so many things started to make sense to me later in life. And this is why I have a lot of trust issues. I found out I had a sister when I was like 17 years old. My father like lied about her my whole life because she's 1 year younger than me. So like a lot of different things happened that probably would have never happened if more of the world had access to these practices. And it's going to take a lot of work to even integrate this into the hood, to integrate this into spaces where people are not used to this. And not only the hood though, there's also like the rich people that are not even into this. You know, there's so many different people with the mindset that kind of keeps them where they're at. And so there's a shift in consciousness coming now that's allowing for like us to like see again through like the eyes of others. Like we're on the internet, we're doing things, we can see TikToks, we can see someone in their bedroom. Like you would never see that before, you know? And so in this digital age, it's really important to, you know, just share what you can, do what you can. Like you're doing what you can when you show up to erase that trauma. And just by you doing this work, just by you ensuring that you can breathe a little bit easier, you ensure that someone else can breathe a little bit easier because you're not going to curse them out as much. And then they're going to have a better day and you're going to have a better day. And it just ripples like that. And it's really that simple. So, yeah.
For real. And I think this bounces so well into the next sort of question. I'm going to pose a comment and then I'm going to kind of ask a question that's a combination of a lot of things that I've personally been wondering in this comment. But we had Madeline drop into this chat since we're discussing hurting and awareness. Just what are your suggestions for not internalizing hurt? And I'm going to take that a little bit further, but, you know, just Madeline was saying that, you know, I'm one of those too nice folks and too often I get taken advantage of because of it. Madeline was talking about, you know, a recent breakup that really, really, really affected her. I don't know what her pronouns are, so sorry. You know, granted it's a fresh wound, but it's hard to not think if people are wolves that I have to be a wolf so I don't get eaten like a sheep, right? Mm. So it's difficult to keep peace and being moral. So I guess the question then becomes, how do you okay, great. Thanks, Madeline, for dropping your pronouns. So like she was saying, you know, how do you not internalize that hurt? And I'll even take it a step further and say, if we're talking about being empathic, being good people, and being just energetic beings, how do we protect our energy? You know, because even being in spaces around people that we just have connections with and have past connections with, and we'll have future connections with, like we'll pick up energy like left and right. So how do we protect our energy and just that internal rhythm that we have going on?
Yeah, I would say, thank you so much again for sharing. Madeline, I want to say that first. Thank you for sharing this question. I know this might not have been easy to ask. I feel that for me personally, setting boundaries has been a really huge thing in creating a life for me where I am no longer even surrounded by wolves or sheep. I'm just surrounded by folks that want to kind of do the work with me. And with that, I feel that like there's still going to be people that are out to get you, but you won't put yourself in spaces where you will meet them as much, because you'll be creating those boundaries. Like maybe you met this person drinking, maybe you met this person doing something that wasn't serving your highest good, and that's why it's ending this way. Like my last relationship, I met that person at a bar. I was smoking cigarettes. I was really down and low. I wasn't feeling my best. I was seeking affection from the world and seeking happiness outside of myself. And then I spent 2 years in a relationship that was failing, and we couldn't connect, and we couldn't really, create that solid relationship, because we met at a time where I wasn't really supposed to be even looking for a romantic partner. I was really just looking for, or I wasn't supposed to be looking for anything. I was just kind of supposed to exist and allow and be. But also I want to hold space for the fact that it's okay. It's okay to learn, and it's okay to experience life. And we have to accept that sometimes these things happen so that we can grow and learn and become who we need to be, so we can, step into our power, so that we can step into our creative power, so that we can start doing, maybe there's a project that you were working on that you need to step into now and that you can step into now, or maybe there's work that you can do. Maybe there's other people that have been through the same experience as you. And so again, I would say, setting those boundaries so that you can make sure that you don't set yourself up to be surrounded by people like this anymore. And I would also suggest, being present with your breath, and all of the breathing stuff does help with this, but really finding space to eliminate yourself from these people who bring you down, or from these things that bring you down, allows you again to step into your power, to step into your peace, so that you can move forward. And so, yeah, trying not to meet your partner like in the bar when you're feeling sad, or if you find someone and you're bonding over trauma, that's not it. That's not it. You're not here to bond over trauma. That's something that you hold for therapy. I feel like when you're out in the world meeting someone, and you can bond over trauma maybe later on, but in the beginning, I think a lot of it is, just being open to, finding someone that's going to help you to move forward and help you to do the things that you love to do, that's going to help you to stand in your creativity, that's going to support you, that's going to be there for you, that's not going to drag you down, but really help you to move forward. That's what you deserve. And so I think even just creating mantras for yourself, looking in the mirror every day and saying, I deserve a partner who is this, this, and this. Write down these 3 things that you want in a partner and say this to yourself and believe this. And even though this sounds crazy, these things work, and this helps you to change the chemistry of your mind and say, like, I want to be out of this whole world where there's sheeps and wolves. I want to live in a world where there's just unicorns. And then so you can create that. You can create a world where there is no competition, Wolves sound scary.
And they also remind me of that indigenous folklore that says there's 2 wolves in us, and you just have to feed the good one versus the bad one. Oh, wolves. But I mean, I just want to echo what you're saying, because there is not only, like, I feel like and we've talked about this too, I feel like a misconception is that a lot of yoga and meditation and mantras is like, like fluffy things that like maybe aren't tangible, but there's science that actually backs it up. Like I've been watching a lot of documentaries recently, and just the way that we hold things in ourselves, the way that things that we speak to our own selves, the mind is so powerful that I thoroughly believe in everything you're saying, that yes, like if I were to just put out into the universe, like, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for every day, no, undoubtedly would probably come back to me in a way faster time than I ever anticipated.
Yeah, because a lot of us are silently manifesting. Like we're going through whatever we want in our head, in our head, in our head, in our head. But then when we do that, then the doubts are also in there too, and they kind of swim together. But when you write it on paper, you don't write your doubts on the paper. You just see what you want to see. It's just there. And so even if you record yourself too, that's a great way. These things are good tools, but also like hold space for yourself when you're not perfect. Like I have days where I'm like, I want to do yoga, and I'll sit there all day and I'll think about, I'm going to do yoga today. Oh yeah, I'm going to do yoga eventually. And then I get pissed off about something. I'm like, oh, I should have did yoga. Oh, okay. I'm going to go eat some, yeah, should have did yoga. And then maybe it's 4 a.m. and you finally did your yoga. Okay. That's great. Because you showed up for yourself eventually. Like eventually you showed up for yourself. And sometimes we're going through our own stuff. Sometimes the day gets to us, but I think a lot of it is just coming back, keep coming back. Like they even say in like those NA or AA meetings, and I know this isn't really like that, but a lot of things from there though are things that you can keep with you. And I only know that because I was there as a kid. I was there as a kid with my parents, and I didn't know why I was there. So I knew all that shit, all the serenity prayers. I was singing that in school. No, I'm just kidding. But I might have. But it's like keep coming back to your mat, keep coming back to the thing that you need to do to progress forward, and you will see results.
Yeah. This feels like such an amazing time to do a little bit of a shift and a transition. Lily, are you feeling the same momentum as I am?
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Just going over the chat and explaining to Peter what a unicorn is and just like sharing it, I love the sense of community, and I love that the magic that is happening here. And absolutely, I just feel like I want to take a moment to just also name the different layers at play here, like all of us coming together and being vulnerable and allowing ourselves to be held. And I want to just name again the Trevor Project, and that this is not only a space for us to connect in this way, but it's also a space for us to compound our financial power. And it's an opportunity to meet like-minded folks and grow inside of yourself, but then also continue to pay it forward. So this is just a small reminder on my end. If you haven't yet, if you feel called to your donation to the Trevor Project, that we as the mixed space double so that we are also paying it forward and continuing to send the magic into the world and into other people's lives. We're putting the links in the chat right now. And then also we have a survey of our meetup that we're putting in the chat, because we really appreciate your feedback and your thoughts on your experience before we go into breakout rooms. So Heather, I don't want to cut you off. However, we are going to put folks into breakout rooms, and I think that is the perfect place to share your thought and your experience. So yeah, that's all that needs to happen. You don't really have to do anything other than just push the button and join the breakout rooms as they come. And we have actually created more structure around our breakout rooms. That was a great suggestion in one of our feedbacks. And we're asking you, do you want to continue, Ariel?
I can. I got distracted because everyone started dropping about sobriety in the chat, and I was just like, yes. So just to make sure that everyone gets a moment to share, we've actually decided to have each breakout room nominate a timekeeper. So essentially that timekeeper is just going to make sure that everyone can share and everyone can be included. So when you go into a breakout room, someone's going to volunteer. The timekeeper is just kind of going to, as soon as someone starts speaking, set a 3-minute timer. And then once that 3-minute timer rings, that person will close their thought. And it's not like they won't stop speaking for the whole time being, but we'll just pause until the next question can get addressed. So that's a little bit about timekeepers. And when you are timekeeping, just make sure that you're unmuted so we can hear the timer go off.
Awesome. We're putting you into breakout rooms right now, as you might be seeing on your screen. And it just organizes you into breakout rooms. You just have to click the button. And when you get back, we'll be here and we will continue with our wonderful conversation and continuing to share our learnings together.
Dang, Esther. Oh, all I'm going to say is go, Peter, go.
Right. Go
Here for
Peter.
support for all. Just feel so supported. Sorry.
No sorries in this
Thank you for that.
space.
Thank you so much for that. I love it.
Oh, you are so welcome. Yeah. Don't wait. Don't wait. If you're granted today, take it today.
Ooh! Whatever just happened, it sounds good. I don't know what that, but that's, ooh.
Well, that leads us into the next part, because this is the next pretty much favorite part for me is the whiteboard. So we're actually going to transition into what I call the whiteboard moment, where we can collect all of the sayings, the learnings that we have garnered and gained in our breakout rooms. This is also an opportunity for folks to put their pledges. Like, what are you pledging for next month? What's your commitment to yourself or your commitment to your community for this month? And then we can check in about them next month. But I'm gonna read the instructions real quick. So when you actually go to the top of your screen, it says view options. And if you click on that, you can actually click annotate, and then you can write and text and put stickers and do a whole bunch of interactive stuff on the screen. And so this is actually a community learning moment where you can put quotes from the meetup, questions from the meetup, a word, a prayer, a praise, anything that you feel like you want to keep forever in this whiteboard, because that's what we do. This whiteboard is now a group art project, essentially, that, thank you, Ariel, that allows us to hold on to what we've learned today and what we've shared today for always and ever. We can share it on social media. So I pledge to practice self-love for the next month with a focus on protecting my energy. That is definitely going on the whiteboard. Again, if you go to the top of your screen, you see view options, and okay, great. We already see people kind of jumping in here. So I love that. And I want to add this to the whiteboard.
Ooh,
We're also putting in the chat an image, like an image that we post on Instagram that you can fill out, and it says your name. You can say how you identify, anything that makes sense to you, and then one thing that you learned at this meetup, and then tag the mixed space, and then we share it on our Instagram so people that weren't here today can kind of see honestly what they missed out on, and see like what we talked about today. That'll be on Instagram, and we'll tag all of you so you see it, but it's also here in the chat for whatever is easiest for people to access. Oh, yes. Hey, more grace with self when I fall off my practice. Have more grace with myself when I fall off my practice. Yes. I love that. I love that Owl said that too. It's like you go through the day and you're like, I should have practiced. And it's like, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And then the next day is just an opportunity to start over. Let go. Yes, we have some graphic designers up in here. Okay.
If anyone wanted an example of what that graphic looks like on Instagram, I have mine filled out already. Woo! That was just posted in the chat. So if y'all want to be active on socials and tag us, it's in the chat.
Sadaf, I love your virtual background. I hope I'm saying your name right, but I love your virtual background. It's so pretty.
Thank you.
I love these pledges.
Yes. I pledge to notice and appreciate actions I take that I like and to do the same for others. I pledge to practice compassion and redirection when doubt and fear of the unknown appears. Oh, yes. I love the heart stickers everywhere. This is so amazing. Our community art piece is always really cool. In reference to the be easier on your parents, could I offer the phrase that the world your parents lived in and prepared for you is not the same world now? Interesting. Yes, I definitely, the generations, it's just how generations are impacting the world, changing the world, possibly improving the world. And it is a different world. Oh, yes. It's a different world now than when our parents were preparing the world to raise us. And then now that we're adults, it's an even more different world because time has passed, but then also we're not kids in this world anymore. So now we're adults who are our own saviors. Actually, Owl said this when I got to first meet them, that it really stuck with me. They said that I am my own savior, as we were talking about childhood trauma as well. Like, I'm my own savior. I can't expect my parents or my partner or my friends to save me. I have to do that work myself. I have to be my own superhero. And for me, working on that and learning that has been a painful process. Like, I've had to sit with a lot of pain in order to create a way for me to show up for myself. I love this, Mary. I pledge to listen with my heart first. Oh, Madeline, I pledge to learn how to enjoy myself in solitude. I fear being alone with my own thoughts because I'm sensitive and an overthinker and a perfectionist. I need to face my inner critic and shut it down.
I pledge to dance every fucking day. Period. Damn, that makes me want to cry. It's okay, Ariel. Suck it back in.
You can cry.
No, yeah, cry. I know. It's
why
not.
This is your safe
space. It's not the first time I've cried on Zoom. Sorry, who's speaking? No. Sorry, go on.
Esther.
I said no. I said don't hide it. This is your safe space.
Thank you. Thank you. I love this +1 thing. I've never seen that before, but it's happened a couple times today in the chat. It's just the +1. Like, I feel like it just means I'm here. I'm going through the same thing. I see you. I love that. Thank you, Heather.
Look at how pretty it looks.
Mm-hmm. It's a very aesthetically pleasing whiteboard.
I'm really here for it.
Look in the mirror and say a positive affirmation about myself. Yes. Yes. I love this, making me so happy as we start the year. Yes. What do we think? Is it time for our don't forget moments as we continue to finish this? Yeah, we have a couple of don't forget announcements to make as we are starting to round out our time together here and close up our space. But my first one is don't forget opportunities that are available to work with us at the Mixed Space. Some of them are on our website, including the guest blogger and being a Meetup featured speaker or suggesting your own theme. So stay in contact with us about those opportunities.
Absolutely. And also, if you were interested in the Meetups coordinator job position that we're hiring for, or even wanted to volunteer for a Meetup 2.0, which is where I have this kind of conversation on Instagram Live with people who want to have it, you can email us at contact@themixedspace.com. You can also DM us or even DM me personally. That's at the Mixed Space on IG.
We do read all your feedback and also your ideas, Madeline. So the feedback survey that we're putting in the chat, please take 5 minutes to fill it out if you feel called. It definitely means a lot to us.
Mm-hmm. And on that too, about feedback, as I mentioned before, we do have that interactive Instagram story graphic that we posted in the chat. So if you want to share on social media something you learned today, that would be amazing.
Yeah, last chance for our donations for the Trevor Project. Again, we double all donations that come in. So that's why we stress to kind of send them over our PayPal now, so that we can double them and send them on to the Trevor Project.
Mm-hmm. And something that is awesome that we have is actually a Meetup archive on our website. So all of the recordings from past meetups, including this one, goes onto YouTube, and you can find all of that stuff through our website, as well as on our website. You can probably find information about our next meetup, if not now, very soon. Oh my gosh, here it is. The The journey of mixed identity, moments that shifted us. This is personally a brainchild for me. We're throwing it back to the OG conversations about what being mixed feels like, what it means. And these conversations are what birthed this company. So this is the first time we're throwing it back to this since like our creation and inception. As y'all can tell, I'm very excited about this. So come back for it. Come join us.